the internet is amazing for representation, but representation is a double-edged sword if representation then sets a standard.
Time perception and what we think is appropriate in a specific time can sometimes cause us so much depression when it feels like that timeline is condensed.
Just because you see so many posts on your timeline, aka your feed, doesn't mean that that's going to be your timeline. Yeah. No one wants a hater as a friend because you'll quickly become a witch. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about FOMO, being a late bloomer, feeling like you're behind in life, and what to do when you have these insecurities.
We love to see it.
But we're going to open up with a classic ding, ding, ding
dilemma.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Hello, girls.
Hey, sweetie.
I really enjoy your conversations. They inspire me to better myself. Thank you for creating such an amazing space. I can't wait to read your book.
Our honor.
I've listened to your recent episode about loneliness and hyperindependence, and this correlates with an issue I've been wanting to write to you about for a while. I've been suffering from social anxiety from a young age as a result of bullying. Even after the bullying stopped, I have never been able to build real intimate relationships with people outside of my immediate family. Over the years, I've tried to work on my social anxiety and self-confidence. However, I have only come to enjoy my own company. I've self-isolated and don't even enjoy hanging out with people. I figured it's because I was rejected so much that I don't even want to engage with people anymore. I am afraid to end up lonely. How can I make myself want to connect with people, have a social life, or even a romantic relationship? I hope you can help me with this dilemma.
Oh, this is a really tough one. And I'm so sorry to hear that. And thank you so much for being just honest and transparent and sending us this dilemma as well. And I'm sure that there are loads of sisters out there who can actually relate to this kind of situation or feeling. I would say the first thing is, if you can, and you have the means to, I would actually recommend going to therapy to kind of go over what in your past or even present may be causing you to feel these feelings, and giving you someone who can walk with you on this past the 15 minutes that we're going to be talking about this, just because this is not a situation that can change overnight. And most of the dilemmas that we get and most of the advice that we give are not, instant fixes to anything. However, I do want to emphasize that when it comes to feelings of anxiety, depression, overwhelm, whatever it may be, not to say that these are all feelings that you're feeling, but when it comes to things like this with our mental health, I think it's important for us to actually seek professional help. And that can sometimes sound intimidating, or for some of us, we think that it's not that serious. However, it is. And I wanted you to give it the care that it actually deserves. So yeah, we really appreciate you sending this dilemma to us, but we're definitely happy to say we are not the best equipped to be able to give you advice, full, I guess, holistic, expert advice which you'd actually need. So if you do have the resources and the capability to go to therapy, definitely do. We always have the link to BetterHelp down in the description. However, if you want to do research into finding a therapist, get any recommendations from anyone who you know in real life, or do in-person therapy, please just look into it with all seriousness. I also think that we've just come out of like a 2-year pandemic, and like you said, social anxiety is something that you've dealt with your whole life, and this pandemic could easily make it a lot worse. I think there is so much beauty, and we think there is so much beauty in community, but sometimes it can feel quite intimidating or overwhelming, and there can be so many different things which hold us back from fully immersing ourselves in the beauty of community. And so please don't feel like anything's wrong with this or anything. Well, not that anything's not wrong with this, but in the sense that there's something wrong with you, which needs like immediate fixing, or just something that you need to quickly get over. These things can be very challenging to overcome. However, I'm so glad that you realize that you actually need and desire to have intimate connection with somebody. The second thing I'd say after the therapy thing is, firstly remind yourself that relationships can be very, very beautiful, and they don't have to be high pressure either. I think we think and something that can riddle us with anxiety, though I do not know what your specific fears or reasonings are, I do think one thing that could make us filled with anxiety is this pressure to feel like we must perform in relationships and perform to a certain level or in a certain manner in order to be deemed worthy of other people's time. However, this is not true. People will embrace you for you, quirks and all, just who you are, your interests and stuff like that, even if it takes you a bit of time to open up. Let people know that, like, you know, I'm taking time to get to know you, whether it be romantic relationships or even platonic relationships, and, you know, endeavor to be intentional about meeting up with people in low stakes environments. If you are somebody who, you know, scurries away quickly after like social events and stuff like that, it's completely understandable, but definitely see if you can find one person in that crowd to be like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And, you know, just be like, I just wanted to have a conversation with you real quick. Like, I don't really like crowds and all of that, but I would love to just have a conversation, especially somebody who you see as willing to have a good conversation with anybody. I do think for people with social anxiety or even introverts, extroverts can actually be a massive helper to you because they are open, right? And so even though you are very closed, they are open to receive you without you having to do too much to be received. And so as much as, you know, introverts or people with social anxiety can sometimes run away from extroverts because it's like, oh, they're going to force me to be extroverted. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. I think a lot of people have an understanding that not everyone is like them. However, they may be more open to have conversation with you and overcome that barrier a lot easier. So if you do identify somebody who's like the social butterfly and stuff like that, like it may be worth pulling them aside and being like, hey, you seem like a really, really cool person. And I just wanted to kind of chat with you a little bit, even if it's like in private, you know. The other thing I'd say is connections take time. And so even if you have to work on yourself for a little bit before you really start opening up and delving deep into relationships, then do it. Like I said in the first point, this is not going to be a process that happens overnight, but it should definitely be something that you are progressing to. And there are probably so many people who surround you who are absolutely amazing, and you don't want to miss out on that either. But don't push yourself so far that you retreat and then you never come back out again. Definitely take this a step at a time. So it could be, you know, going to therapy, and, you know, as you've worked through a couple of sessions, your therapist may set you exercises and just endeavor to actually do those exercises. And if you don't end up going to therapy because you cannot or you don't want to, then definitely I would say the steps would be: take time to maybe analyze why you have so much social anxiety, whether it has come from a specific social interaction or a specific, like you said, about it was bullying, right? Yeah. Like, what did the bullying make you insecure about or fearful of, whether it be insecurities about yourself or fearful of other people? What specific social interaction are you scared of? Is it that as soon as you start talking to somebody else, they're going to start picking on you, or anything like that? Like, just be aware of, okay, what is it? It's not that I'm scared of people, I'm scared of these social interactions. Well, why? What specific social interaction am I actually scared of? And then kind of get yourself representation of, I guess you have representation of our friendship, but representation of friendships which are healthy. And even if you can't get that like on your screen, seek it out in person. And then just start, I would say, like approaching people for one-to-one interactions, because that can be a lot less intimidating than, say, taking the tip of plunging yourself into a very social scene, like going to a networking event or a party or, you know, a function, a conference, whatever it may be. So definitely take time. And even if it's digitally, like, I think what's beautiful about making digital connections is you can do it on your own time. Yeah. So in the sense that, like, I don't need, unlike with a conversation, you need to respond to me straight away. The long pause would be awkward. However, online, you can respond to me in a couple of hours. You know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can come back and let a person know, hey, I was just feeling overwhelmed with messages. I'm just getting back to this now. And it's more socially, well, digitally acceptable. And so even if you initiate making relationship or making connections, that way, that can also be helpful, I'd say. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say, because I have talks for like 8 minutes.
Girl, you gave us the 360 and I'm here for it. Give us the roundabout, and I really enjoyed it. Literally, I agree with everything. And I love how you started with this is actually a problem, or rather this is something to be worked on professionally where possible. So I just want to reiterate that if you have the means to go to therapy, would definitely recommend. And of course utilize resources as is necessary, and utilize of course our code as necessary. I think one thing that I would add is using the folks that you have around you that you're already comfortable. So I know you mentioned like family, for example, that you like being around. Maybe if you have like siblings that, you know, go out, or like go out with their friends, or go out to situations with them, they can also accompany you, so it can decrease a little bit of that social anxiety that you may feel. Because I do think that sometimes when we enter into spaces where we're the only person that we know, or like we're just going in alone, it can be quite intimidating as well. So an idea might be to go to brunch with, you know, a sibling and their friend, or like go to new places with the people that you already feel comfortable with. I know that sometimes for me it's always nice to have a friend with you when you go to a new social setting. So I definitely recommend that. I love what you were saying around like there's some social butterflies out there, some extroverts that you can tag onto. So invest in that as well, and start small, like really, really small. I think your experiences of bullying and the experience of coming out of a 2-year pandemic means that social battery must be low, and that capacity to engage with people must be low. So don't feel like you have to be out here to feel as though you are comfortable and happy around people's presence. Go at your own pace, and try and do really small scale things. I also love online interactions. Yes, you've been interacting with us. You've already step one, like we're your sisters out here. So that's like a really great stage. And if you can interact with some of the sisters in the sisterhood, we've definitely had the privilege of engaging with such wonderful women, being a part of this sisterhood. So even if you see somebody that you know that's like listening to the To My Sisters podcast, or someone you see is cool within our community, then reach out to them. I'm sure they would definitely be receptive. They would you know, receive you with open arms. So yeah, listen often. But sis, genuinely wishing you the best. I know it's not going to be an easy journey, and we're so sorry that this is an experience that you had. We absolutely hate bullying. Do not tolerate it, whether it's childhood bullying, online bullying, in-person bullying, at any age and stage. We hate bullying, and we just want to reiterate the fact that you are loved, at least loved by this community, and to take your time as you go throughout this process. And of course, update us and keep us posted on your progress. But sending mega love, sis.
And let us know if there's anything we can do to help in some way.
For sure. And also any sisters that are listening and that are interested in like reaching out to a good sis, or, you know, comment below and maybe like just signpost, hey, you know, I'm open for friendships, or just in some of our like, you know, social media posts. We really want to make sure that this is a community where people feel like they can invest in friendships, make new friends. We know that some of the interactions that we've had with, you know, ladies over the course of like our Tanzania trip and our sponsored hike and just various in-person activities has led to so many women just connecting. So don't be shy, you know, tell us that you're open for friendship and let that blossom.
Let that blossom.
But speaking of blossoms, we're talking about bloomers today. I amaze myself with these puns sometimes. I know that you guys are not a fan. I
don't think we're not a fan.
What can I say? But did you see what was done? Did you see what was done there? Blossom, bloomer, late bloomers, blossoming into. Anyways, moving on to the agenda.
Thing is, I did understand what you were saying, but like
throw me a lifeline.
But you're not sinking.
I know, but like, give me. You know what I need? Like, I feel like I'm flying a plane.
Yeah,
you need to give me the launch. The what do you call it? The thing that they land on.
Like, what are you talking about?
It's late in the evening as we're recording this, so please. Anyways, Blossom Bloomer. Today we're talking about the reason that this topic actually came up was actually on request by a number of sisters in the sisterhood. Thank you, sisters. You guys stay coming up with really great topics that we have conversation around, and I'm just happy that it's also a pertinent conversation given the fact that this is a very kind of coming of age discussing women's issues. And I think this is an interesting one because obviously we're in the age of social media where it feels like there's so much pressure to keep up with the Joneses. And with one of our most recent episodes, we were speaking about, you know, beauty maintenance and thinking about like how to keep up. this episode is more so what to do when it feels like you're not keeping up, and when it feels like, you know, everyone and everything around you is charging full steam ahead, whereas it feels like you're not where society thinks that you need to be, but also dealing with the contention that you may also not be where you want to be. So I know this operates in a number of different spheres, whether it be like your career, whether it be your finances, relationships. And I actually wanted to open with asking you, Courtney, have you ever felt as though you are a late bloomer, or you're late to the scene or late to the party at any point in your life?
No.
Why?
I think you know what, shout out to my parents. I feel like I've been tooting my parents' horn for the last couple of episodes, but like my parents were really good at just letting me know that I was on my own journey, and they didn't, I know, like as a West African child of immigrants, a lot of us were riddled with a lot of comparisons. Look at this person, look at that person. My parents didn't really compare me to people. And I think that did a whole bunch for my confidence, and also just my awareness of the fact that I'm not like anyone else. And my parents instilled that in me. You're not like anyone else. And like that whole cut your cloth according to your size and focus on you and focus on your path. Like I've had the privilege of having a lot of wisdom from my parents and encouragement from my parents. As much as sometimes my decisions were not what they would have decided or wanted for me, they still let me know that, okay, well, you're an individual on your path. All we can do is try and guide you, but we can't control you. And if they can't control me, they're sure as heck not going to give the right to control me to anyone else, even if that's me putting that agency in someone else's hands by comparing myself to them or comparing myself to social media. And my parents were just really good at that. And I think I really want to emphasize that, because I think that's an important role that parents play in the socialization and the rearing of their children, which is how much confidence do they have that their identity doesn't necessarily have to be linked to, or even their trajectory doesn't necessarily have to be linked to the masses, right? Like my parents, even like till now, my mum is very like, so marriage, you know? And as soon as I let her know, like, okay, well, I'm thinking about it, but I don't want it for right now. She's like, okay, well, in God's time, you know, when you feel ready and stuff like that. And I can tell she wants that little spirit of your age mates are getting married and they're having kids to creep up on me. But I'm just kind of like, if you push me too much, I'm going to shut down and we're not going to talk about this anymore. And I think setting that boundary, but also having the ability to set that boundary because they respected my agency in the first place, has been amazing. So even till now, when I find myself falling into, what is this person doing? And, you know, compare that to what I'm doing or what I've had the time to do, X, Y, Z. Right. I find their voice and their advice coming back to me because they instilled it in me from such an early age. Wow. But I do want to caveat that by saying, no, I want to give context to this. I do want to caveat that by saying, to give some context, that often, especially when I was younger, I was a high flyer.
Right.
And so because of that, sometimes, not in the most arrogant, pompous way, but there wasn't someone for them to compare me to because I was the benchmark. And so I do see, for example, in siblings or cousins, that it's Courtney. By Courtney's age, she had done this. By Courtney's, you know, stage, she had done this. What are you doing? And so I do want to give that context in saying that, like, people in my life might not have had a similar experience. And I think I had that experience because I was the eldest daughter. I was the eldest child at home. There wasn't an older sibling for them to compare me to immediately present. And I was doing well academically. I was doing well in the things they wanted their child to do well in. So it wasn't like look at this person, they're doing so much better than you. They were just like, we got the kid.
Yeah, the creme of the crop.
We've got the kid.
But
I can imagine how much different it would have been had I not been.
That's really interesting. I think we have very similar experiences actually, insofar as like my parents tried that when I was very like young, but then because I became a high flyer, I was just like, oh, okay, actually, I'm gonna stick my stars behind this one. She's a good one. But actually having lots of candid conversations with my younger sisters, there was very much that spirit of comparison. Definitely. And the benchmark says this, why are you guys here? And it's quite interesting because it's almost like in some elements, it felt like the reverse of a late bloomer. It felt like there were some places where I felt like I was forced to or compelled to bloom a bit earlier, or like I had to become a we're really going with the flower analogy, but I had to bloom into a rose or like mature earlier. So it's quite interesting to see just the, I guess, differences in the experiences of like children that were socialized in the same household. And I guess like one thing I kind of want to touch on is around the wider context of like society and thinking about like women in general and kind of the things that we see online, because oftentimes, because while social media has been a great tool, because we see a lot of high flyers now and because we see a lot of people doing exceptionally well, how do you think that both yourself but also other people have interacted with these kind of examples, and what is the impact?
Oh, it's massive, you know. Let's be honest, because like we were just explaining, right? When you're in a household, that's completely different to being in the big bad world of the internet. Not that the internet is bad, but like it's full of bad people. The internet is amazing, you know, the baddest. The internet is amazing for representation, but representation is a double-edged sword. If representation then sets a standard, right? Or a perceived standard. And I think as ambitious people, as people who set goals, I'm growing in whatever area in your life where you set goals, whether it be academia, entrepreneurship, career performance, money and finances, assets and wealth, body image, everything, like every category of life, there are people who you're going to watch for inspiration, and inspiration can quickly become a standard that you're trying to attain. And the more you follow people like that, the more you go down a niche, the more your representation is the people you like and the people you aspire to be, the more you become convinced that that's the norm. And so with that over representation to a degree, you're now thinking, damn, I'm behind, because everyone I see, everyone who comes up on my feed is living like this. But what you have to remember is not everyone is living like this. It's just everyone on your feed. And I posted something on Instagram, which was a reel talking about like, don't forget that you are the one. It was a reel of a clip from the episode, but I was talking about like, don't forget that you are the one who's curating your social media feed, and you're choosing to consume content. You're consuming content by choice. And in the caption, I talked about how like, it's not a coincidence that these things are called feed. You have to make sure that every content is actually nourishing you. And as much as there are things that it's like, that was a really good analogy. As much as you know, it's amazing to have representation, you also need to have representation of your present circumstance, right? So that's why I find it so much more important to have not just, you know, my favorite influencers and people like that, but also having a good balance of people who I get to meet in real life and getting to see their journey. But in that, everyone's journey is very, very different. And if you surround yourself with high flyers, they're going to post high flying things. And it can get discouraging. And I will be one to say comparison via social media has definitely crept up on me more than once. And even presently till this day, because you have such great ambitions. But the thing about, another analogy coming through, the thing about timelines is they make it seem like this is the objective timeline. Just because you see so many posts on your timeline, aka your feed, doesn't mean that that's going to be your timeline. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the pace at which you're going to achieve. And oftentimes we can follow people and it feels like they're achieving at such a fast pace. And it's like, no, it's just popping up on your timeline because you follow them, right? But what's happening according to your timeline is the work, the underground work you're having to do, the tearing down of a lot of things that you're going to have to do, the building up of a lot of things, the learned skills, the new relationships, the healing, all of these things which you don't post and don't appear on timelines, but are actually there in your life's timeline. And so oftentimes we can feel as though things are moving slower because we're having to go through so many phases, but they went through the phases too. It wasn't posted onto your timeline.
Right.
And so it really is about taking social media not just with a pinch of salt, but with the critical thought enough and the awareness of what it is, a construction enough to not be too hard on yourself. And I think a lot of us are immensely hard on ourselves because we are so ambitious. However, success doesn't just look like an Instagram post. You know, your success won't just look like an Instagram post. And so if you do ever find yourself feeling like, I'm behind my peers, I would question what peers are you following? Because we're all in very different places. And if you really feel like, oh my gosh, I'm behind my peers and this is a problem, and I would highly recommend getting immersed in offline community who can tell you the truth for truth, because some of us are feeling the pressure and it's warranted. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't be upset with me.
We want to continue this podcast, so please
don't be upset in the sense that not even, you know, spirit of my age mates are doing X, Y, Z, but in the sense that you actually have not got your life in order. And in looking at people online, and you refuse to get your life in order. This isn't even like personal circumstance. This is just pure, you're spending more time scrolling on social media than you are even actually getting your life together. You're more aware of what's happening on social media than you are what's on getting your life together. And I am a side hustler. I am somebody who loves, business and uncanny businesses and doing things that you're passionate about. If you're that passionate about social media and you're that up to date with what's happening, become a social media commentator.
Screaming.
No, this is my genuine advice. This is my genuine advice.
She said become the shade bar.
Yes.
The camera's dead ass.
Yes.
We do not endorse.
No, but yes. Yes.
Throw shade for money.
No, but in
the shade tree,
in the sense that if you're upset,
the shade GBP.
No, but do you want to look at the stupidity of it all? Because if you're looking at your peers, your age mates and stuff, and they're all getting their money up, they're
so
all
funny.
pursuing their purpose or whatever, they're all getting into a relationship or whatever you think is a goal, right? Okay, but what's in your hands right now? Do you get what I mean? And if you want to be there, stop analyzing it and start using what's in your hands, not to make you further crippled, but actually to help you. If you are somebody who, the social media example is just a funny one, but it's true. Like if you really love social media, if you really love content, instead of allowing yourself to just overindulge and overconsume content, thinking, well, how can I get what they have? You actually have a skill, right? You actually have, not everyone, some people find social media completely boring, or they don't even know who to follow in order to make it interesting, or how to get aware of the social trends at that moment. Do you know how many companies would benefit from someone who knows how to navigate social media to the point where they know of a trend as soon as it hits?
Exactly. That's so true.
A skill. That is so profitable, but instead you can also use that skill to make yourself riddled with anxiety and fear and insecurity. And so that's why I say it like that. You can be so pissed at what you see and how it's making you feel, or not even, you can use it as inspiration. You can just take time to focus on you. And I think focus is such a big thing that a lot of us don't have. We have goals, we have aspirations, we have ambition, we even have skill, but we don't have focus. And so actually sometimes the distractions are too much. Just focus on you. But yeah, I've completely lost the original point I was going to make. But if you are somebody out there who, just scrolling on TikTok, but biggest man thing, think about how much the TMS community could benefit. Do you get what I mean? Or any brand could benefit from 100%. Someone who understands social media so much 100%. And is always plugged into what's relevant. But instead, you're just, every day it's a new post to scroll through. Every day it's a new video. You're watching 23 hours a day. And then you're wondering, not even wondering, you're crying that you're poor. Sorry. Obviously, this is, okay, caveats. Obviously, we know everyone's life predicament is different.
Situation is different. No, I definitely hear that. I think the word that I was looking for earlier to describe what social media has turned into is surveillance society. Because it feels like, I can see both ends of the spectrum, right? There's sometimes you actually, them days you're having a bad day or like things are just not going right. And that's the day that you actually open your feed and it's like, this person's got a new house, this person's got a new job, getting married. Yeah. And literally it's everything that you're upset about that the feed has curated to pop up.
Hey, you want to see what's going on? Not in your life. Bam, 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 bam.
Just for that.
Ding!
just for good measure. And it's like, I think sometimes, first of all, people need to realize that being so attuned to people's lives is not normal. It has never been normal. It's only been normalized as a result of this surveillance society we call social media. Before social media, in fact, not even before, the intention of social media when it was created was to stay social with people that you care about and that you know, and maintain connections with people that, you know, friends, colleagues, all that kind of stuff. But it's now blossomed into this surveillance society where now it feels like we know the intricate details of everybody else. So now, like, I think it's so interesting that just naturally we were speaking about like family and thinking about comparison, and then how that widened out so much by virtue of being in connection with people that you might not know from Adam, Eve, and, you know, various other biblical characters. And now, because there's so many cooks in the pot, or so many perceived cooks in the pot, it's becoming even more difficult to bake the cake that you're trying to bake, because it feels like there's so many ingredients that you now have to add. 1,000%. And I think there's also that element of like, I love that you were talking about time, because time perception and what we think is appropriate in a specific time can sometimes cause us so much depression when it feels like that timeline is condensed. And I think especially for women, we've been boggled with the whole like age and stage problem, right? It's like by this particular age, you need to be married by this particular age, right? Ticking clocks, especially in the biological sense. But I think what's even interesting now is that hasn't actually like left in those realms, but rather we've just tacked on other things. So now it's by 25 or by this age, you should be able to like have your own business, or by this time you should be financially free. By this time you should be married. By this time you should have 2 kids. And it's too much. It's
honestly like we're tired. And I think that's the biggest overarching feeling, exhaustion. Like social media has become exhausting. I was having a conversation with someone today and they said the thing about the internet now is it's disorientating. And I 100%. Actually think that's such an amazing word to describe the overwhelming confusion and overwhelm that comes with having so much imagery, content, articles, advice.
It's too much.
Announcements in your eyeballs every single day. Can you imagine, like, somebody put this in an Instagram caption today that like, oh, you know, about how to make like reels attention grabbing or whatever. And they were saying, you know, people are going to be scrolling through hundreds of these a day. And I thought, rah, we are consuming hundreds of pieces of content every single day, right? At least when you would read a book, you're focused on one thing. Me. No, but
and you can put it down.
Exactly. But this is like, your mind is going from here to here to here. You're watching someone pop pimples, then you're watching somebody buy a Birkin, then you're watching somebody clean their house, then you're watching somebody get married, then it's like, your mind is like focusing on so many different things, and it literally leads to information overloads, or even worse, just this disorientating feeling of, I don't even know how to navigate my own life anymore. Like, there was this interesting TikTok, sorry, I'm making all these social media references, but there was this funny TikTok where this guy was like, when randomly at 3 a.m. when I decided to like get my life together. And it's like, so many of us have these random spurting, like racing thoughts of, this is what the perfect life looks like. And then the next 24 hours, you're discouraged about whether you can even achieve it, or whether it's even your desire anymore. Imagine living in a time where your desires constantly change, and like the timeline and the pressure of things are constantly being increased, then decreased, and then there's so many conflicting opinions, right? Because there is, you know, the TMS podcast and you glow and grow, do your thing, and then there's the feminine energy content, no, be this, and then it's like the money, step up your money gang telling you no, capitalistic values is, and then you've got the liberals being like, no, let's burn down the government. And it's like, in the same day. How can one not be confused?
BetterHelp.com/2
No,
my
honestly,
sisters,
I think so many of us actually need to sit down, log off our phone, and just talk to someone. And just be like, you know what? Can you actually help me figure out,
you know what,
my life, my pains, you know, my desires, my values? Because everything that was supposed to have happened has been unraveled by this phone.
You want to something. Let me tell you.
Honestly,
you want to something. I had 2 thoughts that came into my mind. I hope I can remember the second.
Oh yeah, sorry.
By the first. But the first thought that even the first thought might even disappear right now, to be honest with you. Yes, snapshot. The first thought that came into my mind is we're really living in a snapshot generation. And it makes me think of, when you're editing a video, you have all of this footage. Courtney is the queen of B-roll. But you'll take like 6 hours of footage for like 40 minutes content. We're seeing the 40 minutes and then wondering why it feels like we're blooming late. You haven't bloomed late. You just haven't seen the rest.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like
all
a
the
plant.
Things that were
right.
it
Reminds me of like a plant that blooms, but you can't see the roots. And the roots or like when I think of like a small tree or something like that, their roots are deep and there's so much that goes into just keeping it up. Yeah. Because we're so used to seeing everything on the surface or the iceberg, right? We're so used to seeing this little structure on the surface that we don't know half of, if not more than, like what the hell is going on in the background. No. So we're just seeing this perfect little snapshot or snapshots, collections of snapshots that will last like 15 seconds on Instagram. Literally. Back to back, and we're thinking, wow, their life was just so perfect and so linear and there was hardly any time in between, when damn, you don't know what the hell is going on behind there. And it also makes you think that there is nothing going on behind the scenes. So it's like, for every win, if people don't explicitly share a bit more about their story, or like you just see that win, no wonder you're thinking, damn, I'm late to the party. You actually haven't even seen the full party. You're probably in like the reception area, thinking that you're in the main party. You're in the reception.
You're not in the know at all.
There's so much. And then it makes me like, in terms of our relationship to social media, and our relationship to like content creators, because folks will argue, responsibility of the content creator to be transparent and, all that kind of stuff. I want to hear more about your views on, to what extent can the social media creator or like folks that we engage with online that can color our views of whether we're blooming late or not, to what extent do they have a responsibility to be transparent, and to what degree is it necessary for them to share the losses, the failures, the reality behind the wins that they post online? Right. And not even just the social media creator, but also our peers, right? The everyday person. What responsibility do content creators as well as us have in sharing the fullness of our stories with other people?
It's everything I live for.
Let's get
into it. So the first thing I would say is, as somebody who a core value of mine is transparency and honesty, I will always say that there is a place for transparency, behind the scenes content, contextualization in digital content creation. I think that it's actually, we're seeing a trend of people actually wanting to see that. When you see the rise of informal content like TikTok, you see people showing more and more the day-to-day life that they live, and people gravitating towards that, because people no longer, not that they no longer want it, that people now want a more equal balance of aspirational content and relatable content, right? Those two things are now very appealing to us. Whereas before, I don't want to know about my real life. I want to see what the people who I don't have access to are doing. That's like the reality TV era and celebrity culture and all of that. So I think that there's a huge place. And I think when it comes to branding now, there is more leeway in terms of not creating the perfect brand, creating the brand that actually shows the flaws and the humanity. Even a lot of brands, like actual like commercial brands, are really resorting more to humanizing their online content, because they know that people want a reality aspect, and a reality that is tangible, a reality that is relatable and understandable. And so there is a place for honesty and transparency and the behind the scenes and the wider context in your content. Trust me, there'll be an audience for it. So don't feel like you have to keep up with appearances in order to keep your brand alive, right? But then there's also the element of privacy and also the construction of story, because content creation is storytelling. Regardless of the nature of the content that you watch, it is storytelling. Even documentaries, which are like no scripting, no scripting, all of these, they are still stories. They are still told in a certain way, still written in a certain way. The sequence of scenes are put in a certain way to make you feel certain things and perceive and believe certain things. The only things that are completely I guess, closest to reality are live streams. And even then, you only see a snippet of somebody throughout the day. You don't see what happens before that, after that, what life is like. And even nowadays, if you watch some TikToks, people be doctoring live streams too.
Right.
So really and truly, what is the reality? So with that, understanding that content creation is still storytelling, you need to remind yourself that a lot of, and I'm talking specifically now for the content creators, I'll get onto the peers later, this is entertainment. Right? When your favorite content creator is creating this content, they're creating it primarily for entertainment for you and income for them, or some kind of return for them, even if they're not monetizing it, right? There is some kind of return, whether it's for them to practice a skill, work on a passion project, whatever. And so because of that, their first priority is actually going to be their gain and then your entertainment, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's the nature of work. When you show up to your job, your first interest is, am I being paid today?
I mean...
Or am I gaining the experience? Or even if your entire motives for your labor is altruistic, it's, am I actually going to get the moral satisfaction that I desire today, right? Everyone does things for gain. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. The second thing you'll prioritize with is what I'm doing actually helpful? Is it performing well? Whatever. And so all of us do it. People hate that content creators do it because they don't necessarily understand the industry. And so it feels like people are making crazy amounts of money for little amounts of work. And it's like, yeah, because it's a very commercial industry. Do you get what I mean? And if you work in anything commercial, whether it be commercial law, commercial real estate, you know there's money in that because we live in a capitalistic world, but that's a tangent. So the reason why I say all that is to say, you need to remember that when your favorite content creator creates, they're creating a catalog of content that they consider to be entertaining, empowering, or whatever. They create this catalog of content at a certain pace. However, what the internet does for the consumer is it allows you to consume content at a pace that even the creator may not have intended for you to consume it. That's the big problem.
Hello.
Do you get what I mean? If I'm posting a video once a week, but you get to binge all the videos I've been posting once a week in the last 5 years in one day, you're getting a hyper representation of what I'm creating. Even if I am doing this with the wrong motives. My intention, because that doesn't even match my output, is not for you to see all of this back to back to back to back. And you're not even just following one creator.
Oh, hello.
So even if I post one video a year, if there's 365 creators in the earth, you can watch a video every day. So how much responsibility can I really take over your consumption? Because the issue here isn't necessarily that the video exists, it's that you're hyper consuming it, right? And so whilst I do think that there is responsibility that creators can have in terms of being open with their community and truly building community as well, right? Let's talk about digital communities for a second. What's beautiful about TMS is we can come on here and tell you when we're having a bad day. We can come on here 100. And tell you that things ain't really going 100 and we have these insecurities and this is what our childhood was like. And so building community allows you to actually be a human being. Some people don't have necessarily community, they just have audience without the communal aspect, and so they feel as though they have to perform because they're being watched, rather than being engaged with, and that's a different conversation which people need to actually have with creators in terms of looking at creators' relationship with audiences and the pressures that come with that, and relationships that audience have with the creators and the pressures that come with that. And so back to the main conversation, which is if you are consuming way more than even creators are outputting, the responsibility is now on you because you construct what you consume. No, you curate what you consume.
There we go.
Do you know what I mean? If you put together a whole playlist of 20 something videos about the same topic, which you are feeling insecurity about, and you're not even taking time to be in tune with how you're feeling, and the mechanisms and the algorithms of social media are constructed so that they are addictive. So you have to also be mindful of that. How addicted are you to social media? How addicted are you to watching content? How addicted are you to being glued to a screen? With that being said, the onus now becomes on us, not because content creators don't have any responsibility, but more of the power, I would say, over your life lies in your hands when it comes to digital interactions. Do you get what I mean?
Ooh,
and I think a lot of people want to be like, no, police the content that people make. You're going to police the content of every single creator. And also, you can't police this content because the content is actually entertaining. The content is actually helpful. People are watching it and taking in the right dose, for a lack of a better term. The content is helpful. The content is great. Think of the benefit of content has allowed so many people to get jobs. It's allowed so many people to express themselves in a different way. It has allowed for media representation like there has never been before. For sure. It has allowed for stories to be told which would have gone untold. So the digital world, the degree to which we police it is a double-edged sword. As much as we can think, oh, but it will help audience and young people. TMS
wouldn't exist.
Exactly. It would also silence a whole bunch of people. It would become like traditional media. Do you get what I mean? And so with that, who do we now need to put the responsibility on? The people who are actually choosing to click, right? Or the people who are in charge of gatekeeping for the people who click, right? Parents, people who are actually watching us grown adults. Just because your favorite creator is churning out content which would add to your insecurity doesn't mean you have to watch it. You're not forced to actually watch anyone or anything, right? Now, some people can argue, well, you know, what about the things that are put in your face which you are forced to see? Like what? When it comes to digital content, no, biggest man thing, Renee. When it comes to digital content, what are we forced to watch? Even the biggest creators in the world, you don't have to watch their videos. You don't have to watch their content. Now, you can argue, should content like that be monetized? But then that talks about the relationship between the creator and the commercial people, the big brands, the corporations. But your relationship with the creator is one of choice. You don't have to. You don't have so it's very much like a 360 conversation.
Interesting.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, we needed that. We needed that.
That was so much.
For a number of reasons. But I'm going to park that to one side and actually come and talk about FOMO and talk about late blooming when it is happening in real life.
Yes.
So you're scrolling your feed, everybody's getting engaged, everybody's getting a new car. But then when you look within no, but it's a real thing, right?
No, biggest man thing. That's why I'm laughing.
You know them days where it's actually a terrible day. You've looked
actually peak.
Awful day, and like somebody comes to you, multiple people in your circle come to you with great news, but you actually don't have capacity to be happy for them because you've just come offline or whatever, and you're already feeling crappy about your life.
Your real life.
Only to find out this person's got a new job, this person has just won the lottery, this person has found the love of their life. What do you do when you actually don't have a choice?
What do you do?
What do you in fact, they invite you to the party to celebrate. How do you No, because people will front and act like they're just support. Your time is coming. You just need to be grateful. What do you do when you actually you lack the capacity to be happy for people? Because it feels like it's almost like a punching bag or like a reflection of the fact that you ain't doing too good.
Yeah. So, and this is a huge part of the glowing and growing journey. I'm so glad you brought that up because we have an episode from season 2 where we were talking about jealousy, envy, and something else, another component. And what we said was that like feelings of like deep envy and stuff, dangerous stuff. So go watch that episode, right? But a lot of the comments under those videos and like why I love that this sisterhood is really about participation and other diverse thought and other people commenting is people were saying, well, jealousy is a very normal feeling to feel. And I actually completely agree with that. Like to feel jealous or to feel like you're comparing yourself to somebody and jealousy being a result of that, or even a little bit of coveting is very much so what our flesh and our bodies and our human existence is inclined towards feeling. Now, the problem is every feeling, what that turns into in terms of an action is now a choice, right? So as much as you may not, because it's a human feeling, you may not have control over the feeling rising up in you, what does the feeling now cause for you to do? And so as much as people may be creating like this hyper sense that You have to support everyone. The best advice is to support. Because if you don't say congratulations, if you don't say, you know what, I'm really happy for you, or even just keep quiet, you're going to become a hater. And I'm telling you now, that is the worst. That is the worst. It's very smelly behavior. And we don't want it. And no one wants a hater as a friend because you'll quickly become a witch.
Oh my God. And not the Harry Potter kind.
No. Watch some Nollywood to get a creative is what I'm talking about.
Yo, that is so funny.
But am I lying?
You ain't lying.
So the
man.
thing is with that is I would definitely say if you are struggling with the whole like, oh, but you know, I'm being exposed to XYZ and I actually like it is making me feel insecure or like I'm behind or I'm missing out. I do think it's good to sit down with yourself and think, okay, what are the things that I feel like I'm missing out on? Are these things that I actually desire, or do I desire them because everybody has them? Because even children, sometimes they just want a toy because someone else has it.
100%.
They don't actually want it. If they had it, they
So
wouldn't play with
ridiculous
it. They don't find it entertaining.
So ridiculous.
They just want it because someone else has it. As adults, we should be able to reason with ourselves in the sense that, do I actually want this? What are my motives? Do I want this for real? And if I want it, do I want the responsibility and the work associated with it? Am I willing to actually do that? Or do I simply want it because I want the image of it, the results and the high of it, and I want it because everybody else has it? Those motives will then let you know your next step, which is if I want it just because everybody has it, I actually need to kind of distance myself a little bit, whether it's, you know, unfollowing or letting people know, like, I am really, really happy for you, but in this time I can't participate in XYZ for no reason even needs to be given.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you feel like that's happening back to back, sometimes disengaging a little bit, or dare I even say, leaning on the fact that these people are in intimate relationship with you and letting them know and being honest with them that, hey, I'm feeling like I'm a bit behind all of you guys, and letting them encourage you, letting them pour into you, or allowing them to at least talk you off the edge, or even help you get to your goal even quicker. Actually having honest conversation with your friends that say, you know, obviously telling somebody I'm jealous of you may cut ties very quickly, but at least letting them know, like, I'm really happy for everything that's happened in my friends' lives. So outside of you guys, let me just talk about myself. This is how I feel, right? I'm not problematizing you. I'm not telling you that you guys having this is wrong and you guys don't deserve it because I haven't got it. I'm letting you know that this is how I feel. I'm feeling insecure. And sometimes we're scared to like be perceived these ways, but there is huge power in being able to just confess we feel these ways.
Because then you can ask for help. Because instead of you going and being a hater, cool, somebody's got a high-flying career, they got the job they wanted. Sis, I'm so happy for you. I would appreciate if you shared the blueprint. Could I have a look at your cover letter if you wouldn't mind? Or could you give me some advice? Or you've seen somebody's gotten engaged, your close friend. Oh my goodness, sis, I can't wait to attend the wedding. Does he have any friends?
There you go.
You got anybody that you can introduce me to?
This guy from?
Where did you pick? Any tips? How's it going?
Simple
Or, you know,
as.
somebody's purchased the house. Or this is all a result of hard work and knowledge acquisition in a lot of different instances. I think sometimes we have the perception that these good things happen to people out of luck, or because, you know, there's something specifically wrong with us, or like there's something intrinsic that we can't fix. When for the majority of people that I know that do really well or get really good things, they've been working hard and they've had their opportunity and they leveraged it.
But even with that, right, even if it is luck, at least they can let you know it was luck.
100%.
And that really demystifies a lot.
There we go.
Because it's not that you're not working hard
You
enough
ain't behind
or anything like that. It's just they had a good stroke of luck. And when lightning hits your house, it will hit. That's it.
Do you know what I mean? So I love that you were talking about the fact that jealousy really is a feeling. Funnily enough, I was listening to a podcast that was talking about like jealousy, envy, and why a lot of folks are giving into that haterade juice, right? It's because they're not acknowledging jealousy as a legitimate feeling. It's actually okay to be, much like it's actually okay to feel things, it's okay to be jealous. Again,
to feel jealous.
To feel jealous. But the actions that it drives you to, you need to be careful about what you choose, because that can quickly snowball. Right? Like even some of the thoughts that you may have, it's like, oh damn, I wish I had this. you may not even become a hater. You might even become the person to destroy the good thing that somebody else has. That's why you need to be very protective of your heart and guard your thoughts and feelings before they turn into destructive actions. Because there's been so many times where it's like, oh man, I wish I had that man. I'm gonna come in between.
I'm gonna
those
take
two.
that man.
Or like, damn, I wish I had that job. All of a sudden, gossip in the office. You know, I wish I had that promotion. Gossip in the office.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had that house or that car. I wish I had that thing. And all of a sudden, it becomes less about you and your deficiencies and more about how can I tear this person down because I can't have that.
Yeah. Or I feel like I can't have it. Yeah. And I guess that then leads to my second thing, the second point that I gave, which is if you actually then discover that you actually want it, sit down and do an action plan. And I think what actually, we were talking about this, I think, about 20 minutes ago. Or in the last episode, things are becoming a blur.
Hello. You know, we've done like hundreds of episodes now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I told you.
Damn.
The beauty of creating an action plan is that once you've actually created that plan, and in your head, you're convinced that that plan works, you then become focused on your plan.
There we go.
Rather than what does everyone else have that I don't have, or these overwhelming feelings of comparison, insecurity, whatever. Actually, I can replace those feelings, a lot of those feelings, with confidence that I have a plan and I'm working on my plan.
For sure.
And it will work out once my plan is complete. That's it.
Yo, and tap into a diversity of experiences. One thing again that I cannot say, I can't just toot the praises enough of the sisterhood, because the diversity of experiences always lets me know, I'm not behind, I'm just different.
Yes.
I think there's also that idea that we're progressing towards something, like the pinnacle of womanhood. And sometimes it's not, I'm progressing towards something. Sometimes it's, I'm on the other side, or like I'm on the other lane.
Yeah.
So like there's often sometimes like I see folks say, you know, I got married in my late 30s and it was the best decision that I made. And I decided to, you know, change my career at like 45 or something. Or, you know, I decided to have kids when I was like 18 or I decided to have kids when I was 30 something. Having that access to a diversity of experiences within communities is so necessary, because again, it lets you know that's okay too. It's an option. You're not late. You've arrived. Okay. It's actually fine. Yeah. It's just so frustrating, especially for us as women, where it's like, we're always under pressure to be ready. We're always under pressure to be the best version, to be microwaved ready. Like we're done. But it's like, man, will you give yourself space to grow? And it's also okay to like not have your ducks in a row at, you know, one time. Sometimes it feels like you have to have everything progressing at the same rate. And it's like, actually life occurs in seasons. You might have a season where it's like, I'm focusing on my career and that's taking off. I can focus on relationships a bit more later. It's all about priorities and balance. And I see so many times like that TikTok or like on Instagram when it's like, when you're trying to have a social life and have a job and drink water and go to the gym all at the same time. And it's just like, how do these things add up?
Facts.
And then to now feel like you're late, I'm like, baby girl, late to what? It seems like you've arrived.
And that's the thing, like, perception is everything, because there'll be people looking at you being like, I want to be where she's at, right? And then there are people you're looking at like, I'm trying to be where she's at. I feel behind. And she's probably feeling like I'm behind. So really taking time to realize that there's always something. Like, even when you've achieved that goal, you make that announcement, there's now another thing that you're going to be chasing after, and you have to put your focus on. Honestly. Which may very well make you feel inadequate or insecure. So it's more so about appreciating our journeys enough to know that at every stage we're actually doing all right. And sometimes, yes, there is a need to have an honest conversation with ourselves that is according to my plans, according to, and not even just the goals I set for myself, that by this age I'd be married, by this age I'd buy a house, by this age I'd have a car. No, according to the real goals and actionable plans that I set, and do this with like goals that you set more recently, rather than when I was 10, I thought I would have a mansion by the time I was 29. Yeah. Okay, cool. 10-year-old you did not understand economics, cost of living crisis, didn't see a pandemic coming. 10-year-old you didn't even understand how money really works.
Oh man.
So all of that, no. The goals you set at the beginning of the year, or the plan that you wrote at the beginning of the year, right? According to that plan, where are you? Are you behind? And are you behind because of circumstances which you could control? Right? Because that's when you should feel the pressure of, I know I could do better. And that's why we need to really have this conversation about, you're only in competition with yourself. Like, it's a common saying that people say, and I really want to remind you that the only person you should really be comparing yourself to is the you of yesterday and the you envisioned for tomorrow.
Hello.
That is literally it. And so the more you find yourself looking at other people, the less appreciative you become, and the more you undermine the beauty of your process and the necessity to go according to your own pace. Yeah.
That was moving, Courtney.
Thanks.
I feel touched.
Glad.
Tickled pink, if you will.
Uh-huh.
I guess to wrap up very, very quickly, late bloomers or folks that feel like they're behind in life right now, like, what's one thing or one thought, reflection, or action that you would leave them with?
Find at least a day or multiple days, if you can, to just be on your own, or to be with a trusted friend who you find really inspiring and really level-headed and really sound, who you can really be honest with. And if you're doing it on your own, just be honest with yourself about what you're currently feeling towards your goals, and whether you feel anxious, overwhelmed, inadequate, confident, not confident, equipped, unequipped, whatever it is. Just be honest and put words to these things, and then really sit down and figure out, well, what do I want and how do I get there? I think too many of us are getting caught up in the rat race of I want this, I want this, I want this. And oh my gosh, so much of my life, my feed, the people around me are telling me I haven't got this yet, I haven't got there yet, I haven't got there yet. And it's like, okay, have you thought about how you're going to get it? Have you thought about if you actually want it? Have you thought about how all of this consumption is actually affecting you and what your present feelings are? We can get lost. We can lose ourselves the more we consume other people's stuff, right? I would encourage you to find some time and dedicate some time to just get back to you. Remember that thing I was saying about like being disorientated? Find a time to find some kind of sobriety and stability. And I think that's what comes with just periods of silence or periods of quietness, or just when there's one person you can feed off of and there's not this clattering noise of everyone's life and everyone's opinion and society's pressures and everything. No. What does your ideal life look like? It could be informed by the things that you've seen or the things that people suggest to you. But really and truly, once you leave that session, are you going to be feeling like, I'm going to go and build the life that I actually want? Not the life that other people told me to have. Not the life that everyone else is living. But my life that I want and I want to own and I will be proud of. But make sure you're leaving with actionable steps.
Oh, 100%.
Not just, oh, here's a vision board with a Tesla on it. Can you drive?
Hello. Reverse engineer is necessary.
Yeah. Where's your credit score at?
Oh,
are you going to buy it, lease it? What are you going to do? You know,
the details around the vision, make it very plain.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely love that. I think mine quite simply would be to practice gratitude. I think sometimes we spend so much time coveting because we're not, grateful for what we actually already have. Yeah. And it was actually triggered by what you were saying about the fact that so many of us will look at somebody else and think, oh, I want this, when somebody is looking at us thinking, damn, I want that. So, and I often find that practicing gratitude in this season unlocks what you need in the next season. So make sure that you're actually grateful for the things that you have. So, you do want the high flying career. Be grateful that, yes, you have a job, girl. In this economy is hard. You know what I mean?
You have the skills you have.
You have the skills that you have, that you're talented, that you do have the, relationships that you have. Sometimes, again, coveting after like being with someone, be grateful for the fact that you have some great friendships, or, things with your family is getting better, try and intentionally be grateful for the things that you have and practice that, so that when you do reach your goals, you know how to handle being grateful for that too. So practice gratitude. Doesn't have to be the whole, wake up in the morning, I'm grateful for, but it can be manifest in your actions and in your behavior, and you actually spending time with people and letting them know that they're loved, or letting yourself know that you are loved too. Like, even in coveting, again, there's that insecurity of like, am I good enough? And really, you should be telling yourself, yes, I am good enough. And yes, this is something that's within my reach and I deserve it. So make sure that you spend time practicing gratitude, not just, gratitude is a thing. Practice the act of gratitude.
That's so lovely.
Man, But sisters with a Z.
Oh God.
You know when they put Z on the end of words, I'm just like, man, you need to wrap that up, wrap it up. Sisters, we hope you enjoyed that episode, and we would love to hear your thoughts on being a late bloomer, especially if we've got any experienced or older sisters in the community. You guys stay dropping them gems. Please, and we love seeing your comments, honestly. So do you have any experience being a late bloomer in society? Are there certain things that you decided to give a little bit more time, or certain things that appeared in your life a little bit later than you expected? What was your experience, and what advice can you give to the sisters? Or if you're somebody that is raging ahead with certain things and things are just amazing and lots of good things are happening in your life right now, it would be good to get a sense of your experience in the pursuit of that thing. Was it hard? What resources did you have? So we want to get that knowledge sharing, and you can do that knowledge sharing by commenting on our YouTube video. Yes. And whilst you're here, subscribe, because I know there are no. I want to address this with you guys, because you know we address awkward things on this podcast. There are some of you sisters that come here and park your cars every week and you don't subscribe. I've seen you. Okay, look me in my eye. I've seen you. We are so close. And I know we're recording this in advance. Yeah. But if I don't see 40k subscribers, we're so close.
We would have had it by then.
We better.
I actually think we would have had it by then. So in the spirit of gratitude, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, God bless you.
Thank you for 40,000 subscribers. I'm screaming. And nearly I
hope we hit 50k at least by the end of the year. Ooh, that would be great.
That's a goal.
That's a goal. All right, sisters, be subscribing. If you have another sister, tell a sister to tell a sister. Get subscribing and support our work. We really, really appreciate and honor each and every one of you that listens. Yeah. Give us a rating on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. You already know the deal. 5 out of 5s only. Anything less, not even 4 out of 5. Anything less than 5 out of 5, send us an email. hello@twomysisters.com. We'll be there to answer. Please put in the description that you are here to rate us below 5 and why this is the issue. Thank you very much. But of course, you can come and follow us on our socials as well, @ToMySisterhood everywhere. LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn now. We're sharing opportunities there. So for some of you sisters that are trying to level up, check us out on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're having a lot of fun on TikTok, so please join us there, all over the gaff. And of course, if you would love to follow our journeys, our independent, glowing and growing journeys, where we share the transparent stuff around our life, you can follow us on our individual handles. The lovely lady to my left @CD Boateng, and of course, come and follow me @Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it. Well, sisters, make sure that you've signed up to the mailing list, all right? And if there are still tickets available for the live show, please cop them. Please buy them. Please. All right? But we will talk to you very, very, very soon. And as always, keep glowing and growing. Did I say that right? Yeah. Keep glowing and growing. Okay. Yeah.